Systemic racism works best when the leaders pretend there isn't any, thus enabling those within the system to maintain it. Today, that leader is impeached President Donald J. Trump.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Hold on to your family. Lay low.
The Southern strategy was a political campaign created by Governor George Wallace in a bid to win the presidency. Southern whites felt betrayed by Democrat Lyndon B. Johnson, who had signed the 1964 Civil Rights Act and the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Nixon decided to be more subtle when he employed the same strategy under the guise of law and order. Reagan would continue it when in Neshoba County, Mississippi, where 3 civil rights workers were brutally murdered, he used veiled racist terms like state rights and welfare queens to draw in his core audience. The same audience that impeached President Trump continues to court today with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. At the site of protests and riots in Kenosha, Trump denied there were problems of systemic racism within U.S. law enforcement. He said it was just a few bad apples or good cops who choke and shoot people. Systemic racism happens when the leadership allows a system to be racist in order to maintain the status quo. Trump doesn't see any systemic racism because he's the leader trying to maintain that status quo in a desperate attempt to win re-election. He doesn't care if it burns the country to the ground because it's always about him and only him. Blaming a few bad apples only demonstrates that he knows there's a problem, but doesn't want to confront it because it benefits him and the system directly. The systemic part, in this case, condones the bad apples, thus reinforcing the behavior. Once again, race-baiting words like suburban housewives and law and order are being thrown around as the impeached president spins off wild conspiracy theories and courts white militia groups, praises killers, and winks at shadowy organizations that believe Trump was recruited by the military to run for president to stop a cabal of Satan-worshipping pedophiles. The odd thing is that law and order is exactly what any thoughtful person wants. Law, coupled with order, that is fair and holds those bad apples accountable. That's the reform people want to see. They don't want underqualified, overstressed officers who are being told that they're under attack. We don't need a fraternal order that protects its members. We need peace officers who serve the public. Most officers are good people in a bad system. If your favorite restaurant kept serving your grits with flies in it, you don't blame the flies. Instead, you examine the system that allowed the problem to persist and fix it. Systemic racism is real because racism is real. Systemic racism in our country has existed since the beginning. It was a policy that said there is land to be taken and we, whites, are entitled to it. It was a policy that said we are okay with slavery, Jim Crow, lynchings, redlining, mass incarceration, and excessive policing measures that disproportionately impact people of color because it all benefits one group of people who have always been in control and want to maintain that control. It's as obvious as the flies in your grits.
Oh, yeah.